I'm Evan Feigenbaum, the Vice President for Asia at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. And on behalf of Worldwide Speakers Group, I'm delighted to be talking to David Frum, a writer at The Atlantic, a prolific commentator, a trenchant critic, and the best-selling author of a new book, Trumpocalypse: Restoring American Democracy. David, it's great to be with you.
Well, it's great to be with you, Evan, and I thank the Worldwide Speakers Group as well. We talk so much about the U.S. China relationship. It's good to connect with someone who actually knows something about the other side of that relationship in you, who knows something about China and can lift us a little bit out of the myopia of thinking this is a Washington issue only. It is truly a global and international issue.
Well, great. Listen, David, we're 3.5 years into the Trump presidency. You have a new book out on the effects of that. One of the things you hear often from President Trump's critics is that he has eroded America's position in the world at a time when the United States faces a remarkable and unprecedented degree of strategic competition from China. But one of the things I'm struck by is that some of his most pointed and trenchant critics, people like Nancy Pelosi, like Chuck Schumer, like Elizabeth Warren, even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, are also deeply critical of China, its role in the world, and sometimes appear to be cheering for his policies. So you get strange bedfellows in American politics out of China. Tom Cotton working with Elizabeth Warren, Ted Cruz working with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. What kind of challenge is China to the United States? What's President Trump's policies done to America's position in the world, and how does the U.S. deal with this kind of challenge?
Well, for sure, I agree with the criticism that President Trump has eroded America's position in the world. And here's a way to think about it. I worked in the Bush administration now almost 2 decades ago, the George W. Bush administration. It's always challenging to compute the size of the Chinese economy, but as a good rule of thumb, in the early 2000s, the American economy was maybe 3 times bigger than that of China, making China an important country, but not a superpower in any way equivalent to the United States. Today, it is surely a near competitor to the United States, maybe almost as big as the United States. And I think many people expect that soon it will be the largest economy in the world. Not the richest, and not one that is as easily able to project power internationally as the United States, and maybe not as admired as the United States, but a peer. If you're going to try to elicit better behavior from a peer and constrain bad behavior, you're going to need partners. The United States cannot simply bark orders at China and expect them to be obeyed. But the Trump plan has always been to burn allies. He started off antagonizing Australia and Canada and the European Union, picking fights with South Korea over petty landlord-tenant issues, and in general, making the United States a lonelier power in competition with a rising China. When I wrote my latest book on the Trump presidency, which has just been published in 2020, but was mostly written in 2018 and 2019, I already expected to see a recession in 2020 because of the Trump trade policies. Now all of that is worse. But Evan, let me turn this back to you, because one of the things I think we in Washington assume is that this relationship is entirely in America's control, that we control the thermostat, we make it warmer, we make it cooler, and China will simply respond to whatever we do. And as you point out, that may not be true.
Yeah, I think the problem the United States has is that China's like no competitor it's ever faced before. It's got a huge economy. It's deeply interconnected, not just with the global economy, but with its neighbors. And it's also a major country in Asia, which is the region where the United States is trying in many ways to constrain its power. So when the United States tries to organize a kind of posse to constrain the rise of China, it's fighting the map, and it's fighting what I would call economic gravity. It's fighting the map because China, if you just think about a map of Asia, it's the only country in Asia that is geographically contiguous to every other region of Asia: Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and Central Asia. So when the Trump administration, or the United States for that matter, objects to China's economic initiatives, like the so-called Belt and Road Infrastructure Program, where China's spending billions of dollars to connect regional economies to its own, it's fighting the map because you can do certain things if you're China that the United States simply can't do. You can build a bridge from Kyrgyzstan to different parts of China. You can't build a bridge from Tajikistan to California. But the United States is also fighting economic gravity, because as China's economy has grown, it's also become a demand driver for the economies of its neighbors. It's become a consumer, it's become an investor, a lender, a trader, and a builder. So the United States needs to recognize that its position in Asia has changed and to be smarter about how it engages, as you say, with countries in the region. For one thing, it has the opportunity to be the standard setter that other economies have to adapt to. So for instance, President Trump's decision to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a trade and investment agreement that really is going to set the standards by which companies, governments, and rules and norms and standards will be set for the next generation, really puts the United States at a disadvantage, because even though China is not party to the agreement, the United States is trying to adapt to a region in which China bulks increasingly large, but without playing that traditional role of being a standard setter.